Hello, I'm Dan Fitzpatrick.
I'm Ben Whittaker.
And I'm Stephen Hutt.
And we are the EduFuturists. In this series, we are exploring the Google for Education apps and tools that are transforming online learning. In partnership with BenQ, this video will look at a range of tools that can help you in the classroom and beyond with stories of impact. In each of these short videos, we will focus on 5 key areas of impact. These are assessment and feedback, engaging learners, extending learning beyond the classroom, accessibility, and workflow efficiency for students and teachers.
So the first element of the series is over to me with Google Jamboard. I'm the captain of the ship for this afternoon. So Google Jamboard consists of terminology in regards to the kiosk, but also the application itself. It's a virtual whiteboard, and it's great for bringing you and your students and your classes' creativity all in one place, whether it be on the board or on the app itself. Jamboard is a key G Suite education app, and GDPR elements apply as they do with all the course suite. The term itself, like I say, applies to the kiosk, so we'll go through that first and foremost. So the kiosk itself is designed for business originally, is now transcended and come across into education. It's a 55-inch 4K screen that you can have on the wall, but what we've used it in Leeds City College is with on the wheel, so you can start to move it around into spaces and around the class itself as well. It's got some really nice features inbuilt that we'll go through at a later stage, but it comes with a pen and a wipe as well. You'll see that in terms of the app and the kiosk itself, comes with a familiar, well thought out cloud canvas, and it looks very similar to the rest of the G Suite for Education applications. We're going to move through and we're going to look at assessment and feedback. So as we go through, I'm going to try and apply some of the apps that sit within it and the tools that sit within it and how they apply to Leeds City College and further afield. So one example in terms of how you can use a Jamboard, either the app or the board within assessment and feedback, is what we've seen is getting students to work collaboratively together on the app for any place. So you can get 50 students all on the app. The teacher can have a board in the classroom, and then students can then start to do the class and start to storyboard like they would. An example of that would be our games design students bringing things into one place and using all the tools, whether that be searching for content on the web, for images on the web, uploading things such as slides, docs, and images and GIFs, or going through that process. And then what they can also do is they can handwrite or add sticky notes on that as well, which is a really nice feature. We've seen some students start to storyboard through the process collaboratively. When they go home, they can take that with them and then start to engage outside of the classroom, which is what we'll cover at a later point as well.
I love that as well. Something similar that we've done at Burnley is with a Project Digital class where they have been doing a live brief and talking about that storyboarding and coming up with marketing ideas, working with an employer, looking at live ideas of what they're going to be marketing. And then from there, have been able to then, like you talk about the stickers, being able to upvote and be able to give some peer feedback on the examples and the ideas that are being shared. So it's a really nice feature that wherever you are, and the fact that they're remote, the students are able to engage that way, but also to be able to add feedback onto their own and each other's work and be able to do that that collaboratively.
Steve, is that a cat riding a horse?
That's a dog riding a horse. It's a GIF. So yeah, so as we go through, I was going to link into that. So there's loads of different stuff that you can use it for. But what it's great is actually on the app, you can upload directly from your Google Drive. So you can do a PDF, a doc, a slide presentation, but even a GIF. So like I've just found in mine, use a horse with a dog riding it, jumping over different hurdles. Well, like I say, it's a gift that keeps on giving, Dan.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start to move on to the next element in regards to the series. So assessment and feedback is really important when you're going through. Oh, I've just done that. No, we're not going to talk about assessment and feedback. We've just done assessment and feedback. Yep, always trust me to trip up. We're going to look at engaging. So Google tools as a whole are brilliant for that. What we really like to see is actually how you can engage students using a variety of different ways. So as I've seen there, I'm actually showing you what you can do with it. So you've got the handwriting recognition tool, which works on the kiosk itself or on the web app. It doesn't work on the browser, but you can use it in a browser for some elements. So you can upload coloured Post-it notes, which are really, really nice. But actually, I think they've been called sticky notes now. I think other post-it notes are available, so that's why they've moved to that. You can get 50 people collaborating all at the same time, really engaging from different audiences. And that's been fantastic for our students. It works well, like I say, on the app, the browser. I think in terms of Microsoft, unless you've got a PC or a laptop and you're signing through the Chrome browser, you're out of luck, unfortunately. You've got the great auto draw feature, and then you can start to add some bits in. So when we talk about engaging students, one really great way that we've seen is that the ability to access it from anywhere is engaging, that you can sign into it, use it in the boarding class, and then actually continue your engagement from the app on a Chromebook or on a device when you actually leave, which is brilliant for our students to continue the engagement in and outside of the classroom.
Yeah. I think there's a really good example from Sweden as well, isn't there, Stephen, of where they have a real lack of MFL teachers, so foreign language teachers, of them using that distant learning element to be able to teach to many people. And as you say, then having that ongoing engagement even after the lesson's over is just a phenomenal tool, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a brilliant caveat onto our next theme of extending learning beyond the classroom, Dan, that the Jamboard is brilliant, that you've got the Meet feature inbuilt into it. So from the top corner here, you'll be able to see the 3 dots or the little square with an arrow in it, which is actually the symbol for Jamboard. I don't think it's an arrow, it's actually meant to be a Jamboard. So you click on there and you can actually present directly from there to your students. The students can then get a code, or it can be in a calendar invite or a link on a classroom. So students can access that from anywhere. So if you've got a snow day, if you've got what's going on, which is not a normal cause in terms of the pandemic, but also if you have students that for whatever reason can't make it into the college, they can still access and make progress in their learning from anywhere. So that's brilliant. They can have 50 people on it, all engaging through the app on their phone or their device, and still watching, engaging with the rest of the class through it, which is really, really powerful and is a really nice feature.
I'm not sure if it was you that came up with this, Steve. It might have been. I've certainly credited it to you, even if it wasn't you. Was this idea around it being a whiteboard on every desk? Was that your phrase?
If it was just a conversation between me and you, Ben, then yes, 100% that genius was down to me. But it wasn't. It was Anita Flanagan.
The great Anita Flanagan.
Yeah, the program manager of Jamboard.
Sorry.
I was lucky enough to do a co-presentation at BET with Anita on Jamboard a couple of years ago when it first started coming out and we started using it, and it was transcending. And that whole terminology of it's not just a kiosk, which is brilliant, but actually if you get a device and push it out to a Chromebook, or just through the web browser, students can engage and have a go and engage from wherever they're sitting in a classroom or further afield. I think that's fantastic in regards to giving students a voice that might not have one when they're asked to put their hands up or answer a question.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So talking about obviously extending learning, we've seen some really, really nice evidence of extending learning beyond the classroom using that feature, but also using some other bits as well. So I've seen some great examples, one from travel and tourism from Leeds City College, where students had to do a project around designing and showcasing a new venue or a new travel spot. So that was really, really nice to see students creating all of that and start to build all of that process together in Jamboard. And then what they did is put all the stuff from the web, the pictures that they used to search, they added layers in terms of their docs and their slides into that as well. But then what they also then did is when they got into the college, they then had each a special bit of time where they could go onto the board and actually start to make it look a bit more aesthetically pleasing before they presented to the rest of the class and the teacher, which was really, really nice to see as well.
And I think that ties into one of our podcast episodes that we talked about with Martin Said from XP School. And he was talking about how students need to be proud of what they do, and how the visual presentation is as important, because we know that we're using it as like a whiteboard that you can rub out and whatever else. But as a presentation tool, it's useful for that as well, to be able to help them get better at the way that they present it. Would you agree?
Definitely. And I think when I was at university, we used to do, I can't remember what they're called, where like a poster presentation, is that right?
Yeah, I remember that.
You used to get a massive sheet of paper and all your creativity was on one sheet. Okay, well, for universities, this is your digital poster presentation. Why not pull all your bits together rather than cutting and sticking, which is still primitive for universities, I suppose. Primary schools, great feature, great way of learning. But actually, I think this is your digital poster presentation, which is a really nice feature.
Yeah, agreed.
So we're going to now look at accessibility. Accessibility is inbuilt in the board and the app, like with all G Suite tools. There is a handwriting recognition, which is an absolutely fantastic feature for those students who have low-level ability in terms of their writing skill. We've seen some foundation students that have written that actually their writing isn't the most eligible, and actually it's picked it up and it's transformed it into actual text. When actually their writing hasn't been the most visible. That's really, really powerful and actually gives our students that confidence to be able to do that when they previously haven't had it before because they felt embarrassed in terms of some of their writing ability. Same for ESOL and English as second language speakers as well, when our writing ability is not great.
And Steve, am I right thinking that works on the app as well and not just on the Jamboard screen?
It does indeed, yes. So if you've got, you can use your finger if it's just a touchscreen device, or if you've got a stylus-enabled Chromebook or device, get it going. It's absolutely fantastic, and I think that's the power of the tool, as Ben said earlier. That actually it's not just about the kiosk and the board. You can bring learning to life through the application, depending on what device you've got. You don't have to go out and buy something. The app is free, but if you want more engagement, such as a handwriting tools, get a Chromebook that has a Play Store enabled, turn it on, and get them going with styluses. And we've seen that in maths and English really, really well. What's also great in terms of accessibility is you can change the colours of your jam as well. So let me just show you what that looks like on the actual jam itself. So you can go through, it might be great in terms of that. So you can change to black and blue. But also what's brilliant in terms of handwriting recognition is if you put lines on there, that's a really nice, powerful tool where students are actually, when they're learning the handwriting at basic level, and great for primary kids as well. Let me just turn that on. That actually they could go on and make sure it's about staying in the lines, which seems very basic, but again, is a really, really nice way of doing it. What we've also seen, and I know Ben's going to come on in terms of the series around Google Classroom, is a way that if you created your jam, you can push it out through Google Classroom like you can anything else. If you've created one, you can then start to differentiate the jams that you give out to your students, start to differentiate the levels in terms of ability, where the expectation for one might be where you ask them to just do an identify using a post-it note. But actually, for some of the higher level students, you then start to get them to write a little bit more in terms of explanation and evaluation and all of that process as well. We've seen it.
It's lovely for that, isn't it? It's that ability to put grids in there and allow students to be able to order things, because especially if you've got lots of ideas going on there, some of that background information allows you to customize it a little bit and to make it a little bit more manageable and organized for students who need that. Yeah,
definitely. A really powerful example in terms of accessibility is that we have a lot of foundation studies, and we have some students in terms of severe accessibility issues, in terms of physical disability. It's really powerful where actually just with some limited movement, actually students can use on the board, on the device, start to use the drag and drop features of post-it notes and the squares and the colours of that. And we've seen some brilliant work from our teachers. They are the best people to work with it, to then start to think about how they can engage with their students using pictures and those kind of things as well. And it's been absolutely fantastic. We've started to purchase more of these in terms of the boards because of that feature, and it's actually quite a cheap resource for those students if you look at some of the expensive kit that you need for delivering that kind of provision.
Yeah.
Yep. So the last bit I'm going to cover is workflow and efficiency. I think this comes inbuilt into any G Suite for Education tool. It brilliantly integrates with all the other different Google tools. We've talked about how actually if you've got something in Drive, you can throw it up there. But one way that I really want to talk about is actually with staff in terms of meetings. I know that it's obviously not for teaching and learning, but it's actually really powerful for staff. How many times do you go to a meeting where you're sitting there, you've seen the agenda item when you walk in, and actually you then have a conversation about each element? What I've seen in terms of the power of Jamboard is where the agenda item has come out through a jam. Each frame is actually an area for discussion in terms of an agenda item with a post-it note. What I've seen really work well is then all the team beforehand upload all of their different ideas and answers and how they're going to tackle that and work together on it. So they've already seen it. it's then not sharing and discussing that. They're then going through and starting to evaluate and analyze how they're going to deal with that as a team. And that's probably the most powerful workflow efficiency that I've seen in terms of the saving. And we're starting to see that used more across the teams at Leeds City College and the Luminate Education Group.
That's exactly the same way I've seen it used as well in at Burnley. We've done some staff leadership training, and we were all had a frame each, looking at our digital strategy, and we were thinking around, and each person had their own area around access. Some people had areas around technology, and we, rather than us all watching each other do that, we did that preparation beforehand, and then it allowed us then to come to that. It was more like one of those design sprint ideas where you were saying, okay, these ideas are similar, so we can bring them together, and then you could come to what your core idea is. It's a really brilliant tool for design sprinting, in it, which is common in lots of colleges and schools in terms of a planning process.
Definitely, and I think if you take that efficiency to the next level, and I know the second video of the series is around Google Meet, actually we've built within the board is you can present this through a Google Meet. So when you think about staff, especially the size of us in terms of Leeds City College, if you've got more than one campus or one school within your multi-academy trust, how much time could you save rather than travelling between schools and campuses, just using the board? And I know that we've started to use this more in terms of the times of where we're at and the pandemic, but actually taking it forward, this will save a massive amount of time by being able to get the agenda on there, start to then think about it before we even get to the meeting, but then actually not even have to travel to the meeting. Sometimes face-to-face contact is important, but how many times do you sit there thinking, I'm not going to get this hour back? And also, it's not just the hour, it's a half an hour it's taken to get there and a half an hour to get back to your office as well. You're saving time and efficiency. You're still going to work the 37 hours or the 50 hours as a teacher, but actually it's been able to use it purposefully and meaningfully with actually what you want to do.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like, you know, that old saying of, could this meeting easily be an email? Yeah. And I think what schools and I guess businesses are gonna realize after, when this pandemic calms down a bit and everyone's back to work and back to the physical buildings of their schools and colleges, is that we don't just have to have a meeting for something. We don't have to have a meeting.
Yeah.
And that's not just for simple things, but for also more complex things as well. Like what you're saying, the sharing of ideas. Where that saying is more about, let's get everyone together just for an announcement, that could be done over an email. Actually, you could do a lot of the dynamics of a meeting as well without actually meeting face to face. And I guess the three episodes that we're doing at the moment are each will show that teaching through the Jamboard, through Google Meet, through Google Classroom, a lot of the elements there can be done without actually being face-to-face. And obviously none of this can take away from the face-to-face interaction, especially within a classroom and within learning. However, it will mean that a lot of what we do can be done efficiently without being face-to-face. So although face-to-face is better, there's a lot of stuff we can do in our own time, and I guess it promotes then students and teachers working at their own rate, working in their own time, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out.
I think there's that idea around, we've talked about this a few times on the podcast, haven't we, around teachers moving away from being instructional coaches to becoming them facilitators of learning, isn't it? And because for meetings and for classrooms, if we're changing the core dynamics, you're right, it's never going to take away from the face-to-face, the personal engagement, but some of the stuff that does drain us, so therefore we can't do the full learning or the full evaluation or thoughtful analysis around meeting structures and ideas and planning, we can do through this, can't we? You can do through this tool and combined with the other stuff. I think it's also worth mentioning as well here that these sit natively in Google Drive as well, don't they? So you can create jams from native within Drive, and also that integration of workflow, the fact that one thing ties into another thing, saves into your Drive, you pick it out of your Drive wherever you are, those workflow efficiencies, saving those seconds and minutes, makes this a tool that staff and students can use effectively and efficiently.
Completely. And I think a lot of schools like to use that saying as well, don't they? Make every minute counts. And I know at my own school at Tanfield School in the northeast of England, We do a lot of sessions at the start of the year, and one of the statistics we show the kids is that how just 1 or 2 minutes in every lesson wasted and someone's done this study where it has a detrimental effect on the wage that you'll have when you're older. And when you think of a tool like Jamboard, if you could do a lot of the essentials of your lesson before the students actually turn up. Those starter activities could be done. So when your students walk into the room, they've already engaged with the content, and then it's left for you to take it further when they're in the room. So every minute counts, and it becomes a reality, I think, with this tool.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Jamboard, love it.
Completely, yeah. So
don't forget to check out the rest of the videos in the series. Loads of exciting things. We're trying to tie these things together. This is a new thing for us. We're really excited about this and how we are using YouTube and being able to engage through video. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at EduFuturists. And don't forget, there will be a link in the video as well, the show notes, to the BenQ pages where we talk about Jamboard, and they will be able to direct them if you want to get hold of some of these, if you want to maybe have a trial of some of the things that are going on. We would love you to do that. And we always say this, we plug this all the time. Don't forget, listen to our podcast, subscribe to our podcast, leave us reviews. We really care about what people are thinking about. Thanks so much for joining us on this first in our series of instructional videos.
Cheers.